morning, everyone, and welcome to Thursday's episode of C-SPAN. We are in a different location today. We are in the water in our coral reef habitat with some of our southern stingrays. And joining me this morning is Sophie, our biologist, who's working with these awesome guys.
Hey guys, I am training and feeding our two male southern stingrays, Mark and Lance. We have them follow this yellow target that Lance is currently on right now. Whenever they are on this target, they know that they will be rewarded with food.
So Sophie, talk a little bit about the target that you're using.
So this target helps them as kind of like their dinner plate. Good job. We'll have them sit on the target so that way we can do kind of a once look over for them to make sure that they don't have any scratches, bumps, and that they look healthy. We do this as like an everyday check to make sure that there's no aggression, cuts, or anything like that going on with the system.
And we mentioned, what are these two guys' names?
So the one on the target right now is Lance, and the other guy swimming around is Mark.
And these stingrays you can see if you are doing our swim with the sharks. When you start in this habitat, you are in the shallow side, as we call it, over here. And you'll see our southern stingrays, a lot of reef fish, and we do have a sea turtle in there named Ludwig. So these are some of the guys that you would swim with in that program. So let's talk about what these guys are eating today. Sophie, what do these guys have on the menu?
Today we have squid, actually. So this is just small squid pieces that they will get. It's a part of their natural diet. They get a variety of food every day. Variety of shellfish, fish, squids, about 6% of their body weight.
And as you guys can see, these guys know Sophie. They're coming right up to her in the target. Interacting with her is a special part of their day. Sophie has worked to earn these animals' trust, and so that they come up right to her to get a tasty meal.
So we're going to let Lance out now.
All right, so Lance has gotten all of his diet for this morning. So we're gonna let him out of the corral. We bring the animals into the corral so that they can get their individual diets. So it's super important for us to individually feed out these animals so that they get proper nutrition and the correct amount of food for their health and well-being.
So we're gonna bring Mark back in. So we use the target hanging outside of the door so that way they know to follow it in. They can come and go as they please. We don't keep them in the corral, and we don't close the gate on them either. So that way it's always a positive time and a positive interaction with them while they are in this separate area from the shallow side. So as you see, Mark left, so we will wait for him to come back in.
And if you guys work with animals, you know that sometimes they don't always do what we're asking them to do, but that's perfectly fine. Being a biologist, you need to have a ton of patience working with animals and allowing them to come to you. So we'll just hang out and chill a little bit until our stingray comes back up.
So Lance is coming back.
So Sophie, talk about the different animals in the coral reef in the shallow side of the habitat.
So on the shallow side we have 3 male southerns, Mark, Lance, and Joey. They each participate at their own wish. So this is Lance right here. They each have individual markings for us to be able to identify them. We have a variety of fish. So what you see swimming right here, the purple ones are some tangs. The silver ones are look downs. There's some snapper in here as well as some angelfish and wrasse. The smaller guys right in front are some wrasse. This side also has our resident Kemp's turtle, which is Ludwig. He's been here since the aquarium has opened and is roughly about 70 years old. We have a green moray eel on this side as well. And then we have moray eels on our deep side as well. And we have 6 female southerns on our deep side that are much, much larger than our male southerns.
Yeah, Sophie and I were just talking about how much smaller these guys are from the females. If you have seen our coral reef, our female southerns are 2, 3, 4 times as big as the males. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday, how animals can have different sizes for males and females. Sometimes the female is the bigger animal out of the 2 genders, and sometimes the male is much larger. And they all have different purposes in the wild. Sometimes the females are larger so they can carry eggs, like we were talking about the python yesterday. And sometimes the males are a lot bigger so that they can win a partner during mating season. And if you guys have any questions about our stingrays, about what it takes to be a biologist, or what we have going on in this habitat, throw it in the comments and we are happy to answer those questions. Waiting, I'll head over to our deep side, as we call it, and see if we can check out any of our other animals from the top side. So as Sophie mentioned before, we have a lot of animals in here. Our green moray eels, we have a sand tiger shark and our nurse shark, and here's one of the female southerns. So you can see how much bigger this female is from the male. So we're so excited to reopen when we can at the Florida Aquarium, and this is where you actually do our swim and dive with the sharks. This amazing program I personally have done, and it's one of the best experiences you can have. If you're scuba certified, you can go to the bottom of this habitat, and the sharks come right up to you. They're super interactive. They deal with divers every day, and they really don't mind having people in the water. And a lot of people might be nervous or scared to get into this water, but everybody who comes out of the program truly enjoys it and was wondering why they were even nervous in the first place, because it's actually pretty relaxing to get in here with all these big animals. And that's one of those female southerns again. And a lot of these animals have actually been at the aquarium since we opened in 1995. We have a lot of really old residents. And I think a lot of people would be curious to know that a lot of fish, sharks, and other animals can live 20, 30, 40 years. And if we're talking about our sea turtles, our oldest resident over here, Ludwig, he's been with us for about the entirety of the time that we've been open. But he is about 40 to 50 years old, and sea turtles can live well into their hundreds. So Sophie, we have a question from Glenn. How do you get a job like yours, and what experience and schooling do you need?
So I went to school for marine biology. After I graduated and throughout college, I did internships at different facilities, aquariums and non-aquariums. And a lot of people volunteer here, and that's how we hire a lot of our volunteers. Volunteers are a great way to get into the field and a great way to learn. They're a great way to learn, and it's a great way to get connections and put your face out there for people to see.
Yeah, guys, if you want to do something like what Sophie's doing, being a biologist, an internship is really critical to work at a facility. We are an AZA accredited facility, which means that we uphold certain guidelines and expectations for animal health and wellness. And getting an internship at one of those facilities is a great way to break into the animal industry. And like I said, guys, if you're working with animals, it's extremely important to have patience, because while we were planning on feeding these rays today, you can see that maybe the Southern doesn't want to come back up, which is completely fine. But it's super important to have the time and patience to work with these animals and allow them to come up to you to have a successful training session.
So we want every training session to be as positive as possible. So even if they decide not to come up today, we want to make sure that they're reinforced the next time they come up with a really, really positive experience. Just because they decide they don't want to come up today, they might not be hungry. They might also just not want to come inside, which is totally fine. We're not going to make any of our animals come inside if they don't want to.
All right, Sophie, I think that our Southerns might not want to come up.
I would agree.
So maybe let's head over to the deep side of the reef and talk about some of the animals over there.
Sure.
So like I was saying before, this is the deep side of our coral reef. And Sophie, tell us about the animals going on and living in here.
So on the deep side, we have bigger animals. We have our sand tiger shark. We have one of our resident nurse sharks on this side. This is a female Southern, which is much, much larger than Lance and Mark and Joey. About twice, sometimes 3 times the size as them. We have some Creval jacks. We have an amberjack. We have also tangs and look down, some angelfish as well. We have our resident green sea turtle Flip, who kind of runs the reef here. We also have 4 green morays that live here, and some of these guys have been here since the aquarium has opened as well, so about 25 years. The majority of these animals, our larger animals, are also on training schedules too. So Charlie, our nurse shark, comes into the corral about every other day for a training session. We have our training sessions with our sand tiger sharks about 3 times a week, and our female rays 6 times a week. They also have their own target that they follow as well.
And I think it's important to note that some animals eat far more often than others, right?
Correct.
So we might feed our sand tiger sharks 3 times a week, but other animals might eat every day, right?
Correct. So our sand tiger sharks only eat about 3 times a week, but they're also getting about 3,600 grams of food for the whole week, while our female rays will get about 2,000 kilograms a week, but they eat 6 times a week because they can't get that amount in one sitting. That's just too much for them. So we divide it out based off of how much they can eat and what's appropriate for them and their body weight.
Yeah, so a lot of animals digest things a lot slower. They don't need to eat as often like us. We would maybe eat 3 times a day, maybe more in quarantine, but our animals don't necessarily need to eat as often as a human. Alrighty guys, I think we're gonna wrap up today's session. Thank you so much to Sophie for joining me. And tomorrow we're gonna be doing a tour of our commissary, which is where we do all of our food prep for our animals. So that'll be an awesome time. And thank you once again to our C-SPAN sponsor, CIBC, for helping us during this time of closure. Until tomorrow guys, we'll see you at 10 a.m.